Hey, welcome, guys. Appreciate you tuning in. It's after midnight here, Monday night, July 23rd now. It's July 23rd, Tuesday morning, early morning, July 23rd, 2019, in case you guys did not know that already. And I just burped some dumplings. I can taste the dumplings that I just had. It's been a while since I've done a podcast, completely off schedule, but I want to get an episode out there, so I'm going to. And forgive me for not being quite on schedule, but right, it is what it is, and hey, whatever, right? How we doing on this sound? Test. We're just tweaking the last minute or two of the technical side so that we can officially begin the recording on the track itself. Right now we're live on YouTube streaming, but we have not actually begun the recording of the podcast yet. That is because entertainment is unique. All right. Just kind of tune it up, warming up the vocal cords. She's got us now. I don't even know the words. I see that one person has joined us. Thank you, whoever that is. It's kind of late to be tuning in, and I appreciate that. I wasn't actually expecting that. So this is a word from our sponsors, Essentia. Thank you. We don't have any sponsors. I'm my sponsor. So if you're interested in sponsoring, hit me up. All right, so we're going to get started here. Whoever that is, I'm not sure if I've enabled the chat. Let's see here. I'm going to say holla in case you want to holla back, but no pressure. I'm going to not be focused on this chat most likely once the podcast begins. So as you guys can hear, this is the music going in my ears. It means we're about to start.
Welcome to the Michael Oldroyd Comedy Podcast. It's going to be so much fun when you see of himself and communicating in New York City. Oh, and by the way, this is not the simplest.
Welcome back to the 79th episode. Well, I should say welcome for the first time to the 79th episode. Welcome back to the Michael Oldroyd Comedy Podcast. This is episode 79. You guys are freaking awesome for tuning in. I appreciate you, and I thank you for letting me enter your eardrums. It is July 23rd, 2019. Can you guys believe that? I mean, this year is flying bisexual, right? They just had Pride Week, so that's my pride joke. This year's time flies bisexual, right? All right. Yeah, I hope everyone's doing well. Good to be back, and I think we've got a little bit of juice here to extract into your eardrums. It's been a couple of weeks. I'm off schedule. It's like a person who has a bad sleeping schedule. I'm completely off kilter. My ex-girlfriend, great human being, got a lot of respect for her. Her sleep schedule, though, all over the place. And that's pretty much what my podcast is. I'm not going to blame her for the irregularity of my podcast. But what I'm trying to say is I need to take Metamucil for podcasts, if there is such a thing. So that I can stay regular with my podcasts. Anyway, a couple announcements. I'll start off by giving a quick shout out to my man, Scott Luthauser. You guys may have remembered when I had him on as a guest. I don't remember which episode it was, but it was within the last 20 episodes, I'd say. Scott has recently received a job promotion in the Fox School District as the athletic director. He was a football coach and teacher there for a while. And, I'm very excited for him. Everyone's really proud of him. It's a really nice big step up and a testament to the belief they have in him. It was a unanimous vote, 6 votes to 0 by the board. and he deserves it. So it was great to catch up with him over the weekend. I told him a story, and I don't mean to toot my own horn here, and I guess maybe I'll have to tell you guys the story. But I told him a story, and he said it was literally one of the best things he's ever heard in his life. We were both laughing insanely hard. I couldn't even tell the story without laughing. And we were reminiscing on our old experiences in life. And I don't know if, do you guys want me to start the episode with a story? I mean, whatever. I'm already talking about it. I think it'd be weird if I didn't tell it now, right? Way to get everybody excited and then pull the rug out from under them. Oh, is that Mom? Hey, how's it going? Hi, Mom. My mom is the one who's tuned in to YouTube live right now. That's really nice. Well, it's nice to see you there. So I'm going to tell a story. This is the story I was talking to Scott about. I think that anybody can appreciate this. So we had there was a coach who got fired before Scott and I started playing football at Eureka High School. The previous head football coach was a guy named Art Mueller, and he ended up becoming a biology teacher, right? And he was my 9th grade biology teacher. And I was sitting in class one day on the first day of our first game. We wear our jerseys, and he noticed the jerseys. He got fired, by the way, for being way too intense, right? Everyone knew Coach Mueller's intensity. And anyway, I'm wearing my football jersey in class. That's what you do on game day. And he looked over, saw me wearing the jersey, and said, "Excuse me, are you starting today?" Which means, am I first string? Am I going to be playing in today's game? I said, "Yes, sir." And he basically scrapped his entire lesson and erased the entire chalkboard and started drawing up football plays on the chalkboard. Keep in mind, there are plenty of people that know nothing about football in a regular biology class. And he just threw it to the wind and started drawing up plays, literally the way you see Vince Lombardi drawing up plays in old videos of, Vince Lombardi. I mean, Coach Mueller actually broke the chalk as he started getting, into how I'm supposed to be running certain plays on the football field. He's like, "What position are you?" And he starts coaching me on the chalkboard, and he starts going, "You need to hit the seam and then kick that guy out." And he literally broke the chalk. It was the most ridiculous thing. To spare you guys all the details, it gets more intense. Maybe at the end of the episode, I'll go into it. But since my mom's listening in live, I feel the need to keep this thing moving and to keep it fresh. So I'm gonna go right into it. What do we have going on in the world right now? Well, the Missouri Tigers have gone viral for a video that was released just this weekend, if I'm not mistaken. I saw it yesterday for the first time. Some people sent it to me, and I have to say that it was absolutely hilarious. And it reminds me of, my days on the football team there. We used to do silly stuff like that all the time. If you guys listen into episode 56 with Sean Witherspoon, you'll hear a little bit. We don't go into details like that, but Sean is a great example. I could see Sean Witherspoon being one of the many animated characters we have on our football team, doing exactly what you guys saw in that video. And obviously what they did in that video was creative for that team. So I can't take credit, or our team can't take credit for the creativity or the uniqueness of what they were doing with the marching band simulation, or whatever you want to call it. But that is the type of camaraderie and, just vivacious, hilarious, full of life, full of athleticism and excitement and enthusiasm. That's how you create a video like that. So that's the attitude we had. And when a team has that type of, when a team has that type of bond and that they're able to create something that fun, it's a good indicator for their ability to be successful on the football field. So I am excited I'm always excited to see what the Missouri Tigers can do and the Eureka Wildcats where I went to high school, but I'm very excited. I think everyone's excited after seeing that video of the Tigers. And football season is coming up very quickly. I think it's like 45 days until NFL kickoff now, and even sooner for high school and college is right in that mix too. I'll be going back to the University of Missouri right before football season actually to do a comedy show there. I think I mentioned it to you guys before, but they're hiring me to come back and perform for a bunch of the incoming freshmen. So that's an honor, and definitely looking forward to that. So with that said, I guess we could move on to what else is going on in the world. Do you guys notice how the first thing that comes out of my mouth when I talk about what's going on in the world is the University of Missouri? There's no coincidence there. Obviously, I'm a proud Tiger, but it happens to be it really is a big story right now. It's all over Barstool Sports, and it's getting millions of views. Michael B. Jordan actually commented on the video. I saw his comment on Instagram. He had 3 emojis. He had the laugh emoji, and then 2, I couldn't tell if it was upset or like laughing so hard that his stomach hurt emoji. I didn't get those other emojis, so maybe someone can fill me in as to whether or not he was saying he thought the video was cool and hilarious or what. But the fact that it got him to formulate some sort of a response just shows the gravity of it being viral. You know, Michael B. Jordan is one of the biggest people in Hollywood right now. You know, star of Rocky, star of Black Panther. So it was pretty cool to see his comment there. Nevertheless, what is going on in the world? It's been several weeks since I've talked, so I'm not going to dwell on the past much, but the 4th of July has come and gone already. Unbelievable. I had a great 4th. Hopefully you guys did too. I was lucky enough to get a tremendous view right down the pike of Manhattan. I had a friend of a friend who I play flag football with. He's our quarterback, and he invited me to this party in Midtown, and we were right next to the Empire State Building looking at Lower Manhattan, and we could see the fireworks exploding on each side of Manhattan. It was amazing. It was symmetrical. It was aesthetically pleasing to the eye, and it was magical. It was awesome. You never in life, you have to appreciate the moment, and you never know when you're going to see a thing like that again. It was a special spectacle to where, I mean, I don't expect to see it ever again from that angle. I'd like to see many other cool fireworks in many other places, but you gotta make sure you take it in the moment, because it's a special thing to have a view like that on a day like that. So what else is going on in the world? Speaking of New York, there's been a couple of power outages or blackouts recently. There was one just a week or 2 ago. I wasn't involved in it, luckily, in my building, but that can be a scary thing, especially with the heat going on. It's in the middle of summer right now. We're in the middle of a heat wave pretty much around the country. And I think there's some flooding going on too. If I'm not mistaken, I saw something where Eureka, Missouri is underwater right now. It just started raining today, which was, for us out here, a blessing because it's been so hot. But with there was another power outage in Brooklyn last night. So weird stuff. Made me think of the movie The Purge. Hopefully that doesn't happen. But last time it happened here in New York was like 30 years ago, and people started looting. This time it was getting ready to get to that point, and they started to get the power back on. But apparently a lot of different people were directing traffic. Homeless people were directing traffic all of a sudden, which I feel like homeless people sometimes direct traffic whether the power is out or not. So I don't think that was really unique to the blackout, but it's always an interesting thing. I was thinking about putting on my Batman suit and, being called to work if things got out of hand. But apparently it all worked out. And speaking of those types of things, I also want to give a shout out to my friend Wale Alayu. He is a reporter and a news guy that you see on NBC4 a lot. He's a Mizzou guy. He was on my 30th birthday podcast episode as a guest. and he's wrapping up some time with NBC. Actually, he just finished on Sunday a really cool, time period that he had with NBC out here, and I've gotten to see him on the news a lot, so I just wanted to give him some love real quick. It's always been a treat and a pleasure to just turn on the TV randomly and to see his face. That's how the other day we were connecting, we were talking, and he said, "How did you know I was in New York a couple years ago? What was it that caused us to reconnect?" I said, I turned on the TV one day and you were on it. So that's how I knew that you were living in New York, and he's been a good friend. So, and a very funny dude. I actually got to see him do comedy in this comedy competition a couple of weeks ago at the comic strip. They had this New York's Funniest Reporter competition. It's an annual competition. And believe it or not, Wale took home the cake. He was hilarious. He absolutely killed it that night. Very funny, which is not a surprise. We were class clowns at Mizzou, and he had a TV show where he was doing pranks at Mizzou on KOMU. The funniest prank I've ever seen was when he was dressed up like a lifeguard outside Brady Fountain, which is not a swimming pool, but he had like a bunch of suntan lotion on his face, and he was blowing his whistle at everybody saying, "Slow down, no running by the pool." So very funny dude, very funny prankster, always a class clown, successful here in New York, with NBC. Reminds me of the movie Bruce Almighty. We were joking about that. We joke about that a lot. Both of us love Jim Carrey and think that movie is really cool. So yeah, that's the deal with Wale. He won the competition, and yeah, you guys missed out if you weren't there. So speaking of Jim Carrey, I wrote Jim Carrey a letter recently, and I always wanted to. Jim Carrey was my first major influence in comedy, and I just felt compelled recently for one reason or another. I'm not sure what prompted it, but I followed through. Right, when you're younger, you want to do certain things, but something usually stops you. Either you think, "Oh, this isn't good enough. It's got to be perfect." All these things. I wrote this 3-page handwritten letter all in one sitting. No second guessing, just let the pen kind of be guided by the muse of comedy. And I didn't ask him for anything. I thanked him for really all the laughter that he's brought to the world, and for being, and just let him know what a big influence he still is for me to this day with the work that he's done in the past. And it's a very true. I think he's my biggest comedic acting role model, if there is such a thing. Looking back on the course of comedic actors, I think he's probably the biggest influence. And just, I've never seen anything like Jim Carrey before. So hopefully he gets a letter. We'll see. And what else is going on in the world? So there was an earthquake in California a couple weeks ago, and hopefully everyone's okay. It could be a scary deal, I think that there was some fear of a potential tsunami at one point as a result of that. I remember when I lived out on the beach in California, I was always worried that there could be a tsunami if there was either an earthquake or a meteor or something like that that hit the water. And that's why I used to sleep on an air mattress, because I just wanted to make sure that I was taking care of my safety first, You got to do it on the rooftop too, otherwise it's not effective. You can't sleep on an air mattress in your bedroom because you'll just float up to the ceiling and suffocate. You got to do it on the rooftop and catch it like a wave. Catch that tsunami like a wave. So, yeah, tsunami jokes. Anyway, what else is going on? The U.S. women's team won the World Cup. That's pretty exciting, right? I mean, I'm mentioning things that are kind of old news now. Blues won the Stanley Cup. Very, very big deal for the state of Missouri and St. Louis. A lot of people were excited. I didn't go back for the parade or anything, but that was really cool to see for the state of Missouri. the Warriors lost the NBA Finals. I met somebody from Canada. I met somebody from Toronto the very next day. Very ironic timing on that. And we got in a fight. Nah, I'm kidding. It was interesting though to meet somebody from Toronto. For some reason, I thought Toronto just entered the NBA like this year, and I was like, oh, congratulations. But I guess they've been around for a while. Maybe they haven't. I actually don't know. That reminds me of Aziz Ansari's new Netflix special where he just states random things as if they're facts and everyone believes him and even shares their opinion, and then he embarrasses them and says, I just made everything up right there. None of that's true. So that's always a fun type of joke. What else? We talked about the World Cup, and some people were upset about how the ladies were celebrating. They thought that there was some unclassiness going on. There were some embarrassing moments. I will agree with that. I mean, you know what? Anyone that has a big win, if they haven't been there before, and there's lack of maturity, there's going to be, it's not natural to know how to just I think being a good sportsman is part of good character, and it's part of being trained to show good sportsmanship and class. And there was one lady in particular, I guess, who kept on broadcasting on social media, and it was kind of tacky. It was kind of repulsive to watch. I think the thing that personally bothered me the most is when one of the girls dropped the American flag to take a picture, right? It's just, that could lead to a whole deeper discussion, but you just don't do that. You just don't drop the American flag. That should be something that everyone knows. I would assume they teach that in school still, but maybe they don't. I don't know. So other than that, anything else going on? Cameron Boyce passed away. Rest in peace. A lot of people were saying really nice things about Cameron. And then I saw an update on Edelman, the football player. Edelman went on Stephen Colbert to talk about Judaism. I guess he's Jewish, and he went on the Late Show to talk about that. I'm mentioning that because I just saw the headline and I was too lazy to click on it and watch it. So I'm just letting you guys know in case it captures your attention and you want to look at it. I think that I don't care to fully inform myself on anything that I'm not personally extremely interested in. But if something is captivating enough to draw my attention, I'll just mention it for your guys' sake, right? So with that said, what's going on in the comedy world then? Well, Saturday Night Live season is over, right? It's been over for a while, I guess now. There was a recent comedian, I forget her name, but she made a joke about a rapper who passed away in the last month or so, and she made a joke about Venmo, right? And the premise was about the fact that he died, and she mentioned how he died, which was he had a briefcase full of $50,000 and he was going to go buy a brand new car. And she said, when I found out that I guess he got held at gunpoint or something for that, she said when she saw that story, it made her wonder if she should get Venmo. And there was some backlash. I think she even lost a job. It might have been on Comedy Central, but there's a bunch of comedians in the comedy community that are banding together. Specifically, one that I saw today was the Creek and Cave, where I've performed multiple times. And the lady who runs the Creek and the Cave publicly stood up for her and bashed, the consequences she received for making a joke. And it was a very strong stand. And interesting to see, everyone is banding together to defend this comedian, right? And what I will say is the joke itself is not offensive because she's not making fun of the rapper or saying that she's glad he's passed away. It was more about a lesson, a lesson that just happens to be ironically humorous. So look into that story if you find it interesting. Let me know what you think. Another thing going on in the world of comedy is Just for Laughs just announced its Fresh Faces for 2019. If you don't know, Just for Laughs is the premier comedy festival in the world. It's in Montreal. If you get on Just for Laughs, it is usually a launch to a successful career in comedy. It's very difficult to get that. So I'm not on the roll call for that, but congratulations to the new faces who have made it. I think that that's a really big deal. I know that one of my friends last year did it, Usama Siddiqui. His tag name is Usama bin Laughin. So he's a pretty funny dude. And I know that it's helped him. He's doing shows at places like the Comedy Cellar now, and just it's really upped his stock, and that showcase really ups a lot of people's stock. So congratulations to them. Here's an update. I got 2 tickets to Jimmy Fallon this Wednesday, so I guess I'm gonna get to go watch Jimmy Fallon, which is exciting. And I think that'll be really fun. Getting to see Jimmy Fallon again. Maybe I'll go with Wale Alayu, and or if anybody wants to go watch Jimmy Fallon with me, I haven't given the ticket away yet. So it's this Wednesday. I don't even know who the guest for the show is, but maybe I'll check that out on Google later. I mentioned Aziz Ansari's new comedy special. I do think it's worth a watch. He has a very genuine apology at the very beginning of it that acknowledges what's happened to him, and what a terrible and tough year that he's had, and how he's really thought a lot about it, and was very sorry that he negatively impacted somebody. And I thought his comedy special was extremely insightful. He's really evolved as a person and as a comedian, I would say, and was really on the cutting edge of what is relevant as far as groupthink and collective unconsciousness goes right now, in my opinion. Not that I agree with every single thing that he said, but I did think it was very smart and on the cutting edge and the wave of change. So it's worth a watch. I think it's educational and intellectually stimulating, and he brings up some good points and reminders, which is to I think the main thing is to appreciate the time that you have with your family more. He was saying most people don't spend enough time with their family, and when they do, they're not in the moment enjoying the most important people in their lives. So Mom, if you're still watching this, I love you, and I already try to do that, but it's always a good reminder. So yeah, so I think that everyone should check that out and think about it. As far as any other comedy specials go, I watched Adam Devine's new special. He's one of my favorite comedians. Strongly recommend his comedy special. I mean, he's unbelievably talented. I think he lives up to his name. I feel like he is divinely humorous, no pun intended. But he is just a very talented kid, always has been. His stuff on Comedy Central and Workaholics is, I feel like him and his 2 partners obviously are a tremendous team, but I think he carries that show. He's the light of that show, and his stand-up is what you would hope for and what you would expect. So definitely worth checking out. And the big news that just came out in the last couple of days, this is going to shake everyone's world if they don't know. Eddie Murphy is coming back and doing a comedy special, and they're paying him $70 million to do one comedy special. So we thought Dave Chappelle's return was as big as it could get. Apparently, as Dave Chappelle called Eddie Murphy once, he called him Caesar. So apparently the Caesar of comedy is coming back to do a comedy special on Netflix for $70 million. And it'll be exciting to see. I mean, I'm excited. I'm intrigued, right? That's the beautiful thing about life is, as long as we're here, the opportunity to make great stuff or to try to, and the opportunity for hope, there's going to be a lot of people that are looking forward to that, so everyone wants to see, and it's tough. I mean, I'm going to just say right now that as great as Eddie Murphy was and as big as he was and as awesome as he was of a name as he was able to create for himself, it's hard to, he's going to have to figure out a place to work anonymously, or at least be able to fail and grow and rebuild. It takes years, and it's not like riding a bike. I mean, part of it is, I'm talking about stand-up. It's like being in a gym, and if you're not continuing to work certain muscles on stage regularly, there's atrophy that takes place. I don't doubt Eddie Murphy in any way, but it will be unique to see if he's able to navigate the paths to develop that material in places where he feels like it's safe to bomb and fail and learn. That part of the difficulty of being Eddie Murphy is that everybody expects so much of you, so you probably never want to get on stage anywhere and just practice because everyone has such high expectations. But that's part of the catch-22 effect, I guess. Anyway, what's going on in so moving on to the third section of the show, what's going on in my world of comedy. Well, I did something unique this last week. I put together an audition or a submission for Saturday Night Live, and I know that some people would say that's maybe taboo, or that you should wait for them to come to you. I think they even say no, don't send anything unsolicited. But Eddie Murphy wouldn't have gotten on Saturday Night Live if he didn't try in an unorthodox way. Saturday Night Live did not reach out to Eddie Murphy and say, "Hey, do you want to audition?" He called them every day for a week or a couple of weeks and just said, "I've got 18 family members that are relying on me, and I need to feed their faces, and everyone's expecting for me to be famous." So, he was basically being a cold calling salesman and not taking no for an answer, and the absurdity probably of him saying that 18 people were relying on him was enough to either get someone to feel sorry for him, or to think it's funny, or to appreciate his bravery in being willing to call them directly on the phone. So I did put together, thanks to a couple of my friends and my parents for taking the time to help me think through putting my best foot forward. What I will say is making a tape like that, you obviously want to put your best forward because you know that you may only get one shot at it. If someone like Lorne Michaels actually does watch it, everything that he watches, whether it lasts for 1 second, 5 seconds, 30 seconds, or all however many minutes it is, you want it to be as good as it can be, or the best representation of yourself. So there's actually a lot of stress in finalizing and in emitting something like that out into the universe. And I think the fact that I wrote Jim Carrey a couple of weeks ago was like a stepping stone for me creating the submission for Lorne Michaels. What I wrote to Jim Carrey, as I said before, was not it was not for me. It was for Jim Carrey. But actually sending it out there still takes it takes confidence to feel like you're putting your best self out there. And it's the same with the Saturday Night Live submission. So I'm happy to have gotten that off my chest. And frankly, I feel like it's an accomplishment in and of itself. And now I have some of those, I had multiple drafts that I created, and now I have some impressions that I can put out onto my social media. So you guys can see some of the cuts that didn't make it onto my own reel of impressions and characters. I uploaded one yesterday, so check it out if you're interested. What else is going on in this world of comedy of mine? I did an audition for Dangerfields a couple weeks back. Thanks to everybody that came out and supported. That was really nice and refreshing. I've got a guy who is helping me now behind the scenes. He wants to be one of my writers, right? So I've got someone that's helping me craft jokes, who's dedicated, who's been doing comedy for a long time. My friends have been helping me write my jokes, and my family for as long as I've been doing comedy. And it's nice to have that. I wouldn't be where I am without that. And it's also nice to be getting to the point where a comedian is wanting to dedicate his own time and resources, someone who's been writing and performing and doing stand-up, wanting to dedicate his time to making me better and to furthering my comedy journey. So I'm very lucky to have that. I would consider that is a good step forward. Mentioned the NBC audition coming up in a couple weeks that I'm getting ready for. It's the diversity search. Mentioned the Mizzou show. The Midwest Sketch Bandits is doing well. We haven't met in a bit, but Dom's doing great. Dom Leonelli, as you guys know, who's one of the main. He's pretty much, him and I share kind of lead roles in the acting side and the comedy side of that sketch group. He's a lot of fun to watch in those videos, but also in stand up. And I've gotten to hang out with him a couple times out over the last couple of weeks and watch some of his stand up. He's got a hilarious new joke about a toenail, which creates, earth shattering laughter. It's one cool thing about Dom is he'll deliver, like, sometimes he'll do a joke and he'll deliver something like a dummy punchline, and the audience will think that that's the punch because it gets a normal laugh, and you're kind of like, oh, okay, that's funny. And then he'll hit you with this unexpected, like, plunge that just knocks your socks off with the real punchline. And one of the things that I like when I watch him on stage, he looks like a magician when he's doing stand-up. He's got this twinkle in his eye, and it looks like he's got a secret, and he's holding it back, and he's got this smile that he's trying to stifle, and it makes me start laughing before he even delivers the punchline, because I know that he knows that what he's about to say is hilarious, and it usually is. So check out Dom Leonelli. We'll be getting together and making more sketches soon. We got to hang out at the Comedy Cellar not long ago. We talked about all kinds of stuff, Saturday Night Live, future goals, just different things. And he's working hard. He's a dedicated fella. So, I'm rooting for him. And he's had a hard journey. He's failed multiple times in New York, and he's moved back home to make money again and come back out, and he just will not quit. And I know that he's got a bright future ahead of him. I'm rooting for him and helping however I can. We're helping each other, right? We're friends, and check him out. He deserves success, and he's had some hard times, and he kind of like the Scott Lutthauser thing. You want to see good things happen to good people. So that's all I'll say about that for now. I don't know if you guys heard, speaking of what's going on in the comedy world, but Colin Jost and Scarlett Johansson are getting married. Colin Jost is one of the Weekend Update guys on SNL, and he locked down Scarlett Johansson. So hopefully it works out. I think he seems like a really nice guy. I got to witness an interaction with him once with like some 13, like when I went to watch an episode of SNL a year or two ago, I waited at the end where the cast members come out with basically a bunch of the 13-year-old girls that were all fans. I just wanted to see who would come out. And Colin Jost came over and said hi to these girls. And one of the girls said, "Will you marry me?" And he said yes. And I thought that was a really nice thing. He was a nice guy to these girls. He was very humble, and hopefully that girl that proposed to him that night isn't. I hope she's doing okay, knowing that he's actually marrying Scarlett Johansson. So, thoughts out to her. But he was a nice guy. So I'm happy to see good things happen. I mean, Scarlett Johansson is one of my favorite actresses. I'm jealous. If I was more famous, I would ask her out. Or if I met her, I don't have to be famous, but if I ever had the opportunity to meet her and she was single, I would definitely ask her out. She's beautiful, she's attractive, and she's a great actress. So that's cool. Well, we're getting near the end of the podcast now. So I try to end with, I usually try to wait. I usually try to wait until the very end to talk about me or anything silly that's going on. So, because I don't want to be narcissistic, but I know there's a balance. Obviously, when I'm talking about comedy, a lot of it involves me. So, forgive me. But I'll try to end with something relevant here. My girlfriend and I have broken up, but she still makes me laugh. We're on good terms. She's a very unique character. What else? Yesterday she was in town, and we were riding the bus home. So I'll just end by telling this story. We were riding the bus home, and there was a guy who had Terrets on the bus. There was a guy who had Tourette syndrome. So Jessica and I are riding the bus home from the Lower East Side after we had dinner together, and this guy on the bus kept on yelling randomly. Anyone who knows anything about Tourette's knows that it's people will just blurt out these either subconscious words or whatever, just the most inappropriate things. He kept on saying things like, "Can't believe that person just touched me when they walked by," like, "Man, leave me alone," right? And he the thing that was funny is he kept saying it. He kept making these outbursts, and he looked like a normal guy. Like he was holding like a fresh bag of food that did not look cheap, right? It had like a staple in it, so it looked like it was like fresh delivery, and he was wearing like nice headphones around his ears. So I was really trying hard not to laugh because it was so absurd. And New York is the ultimate city when it comes to people making outbursts. You'll see people all the time screaming in the street, and they're not talking to anybody, which is a little bit scary, but it's also kind of funny. And I guess you could have mixed reactions to it. It is funny because it's so ridiculous. And I've never seen it really in any other city. Just flat out people that I guess you could say they're mentally, they need some mental therapy, or I don't know what the answer is, but mentally ill in some way. But this guy on the bus was very entertaining, but I was afraid to laugh because I didn't want to get in an altercation with him. So it was a tough thing. It was kind of like being in a Saturday Night Live sketch where your teammates are being very funny, but you don't want to ruin the sketch by laughing. So I felt like I was kind of in that same situation. It was good practice, basically, for me in case I ever get on SNL. It was good practice for me, training myself not to laugh. So anyway, I am done with this episode. I appreciate you guys for tuning in. Mom, if you're still there, I just realized at the very end of this episode that the actual podcast didn't even record. But we've got it on YouTube here. So this YouTube, I'll probably have to re-record episode 79. Who knows if I'll ever even do the same material, but the fact that it looks like you're still on and the fact that you sat through this whole thing, I really appreciate it. And I'll have to give you a call now to see what you thought of this podcast. But anyway, for anyone that watches the YouTube recording here, thanks for tuning in. I love you guys, and I appreciate you checking it out. Have an awesome week, and until next time, have an awesome week. Thank you.